Okay, and welcome to the Lesson Plan 5 in our Lesson Plan video series, Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. So today we're going to be reading chapters 9 and chapters 10, depending on how far along the book you are. Again, these lesson plans are just a rough idea of the skills that you can use and the way you can approach the novel to get you thinking if you're on teaching practice or if you are an experienced veteran teacher. Okay, vocabulary opener. So again, our keywords are here today. And usually I would introduce these in context. Can you guess from the teacher's sentence the meaning of the word? And then you can move into the definitions and then talk about as a class. They can come up in pairs with their own oral sentence with their partner, and then let's share as a class. I typically at this point don't use whiteboards, particularly if I'm focused on the reading for a week, because sometimes kids take an awful long time or they want it to be perfect, and it distracts from the purpose of this point of your lesson, which is the vocabulary. It's not about punctuation or grammar at this point. Okay, and now we're going to talk about the main idea. Usually how we introduce this to the class, as we all know, like the main idea is to do with topic, and it's also to do with what's happening about the topic. So I use pictures. Pictures is a great way to start talking and thinking about main idea. So you might have a picture on the board and it might be about like a soccer match, right? So the topic is there's a soccer match, and then maybe in the picture there's a picture of an ambulance, and then there's people around a player, right? So what it's saying is that there was an accident and a player got injured at the soccer match. Explicit teaching with this is really important too. So the main idea is what the text is mostly about. So we have a topic and then what's it saying about the topic. And again, you can put this up on the board if you like, if it's helpful. It's a section of the text, and we're talking about what is the topic of the paragraph, what is saying about the topic, what option is the main idea here. Reading, and again I would have the children focus on the words that we talked about today. If you hear them, can you hear the words as we're moving through? All of the questions are there that you can use. And then of course a brain break before your activity. So for example today you could use like the adjective game. So everybody stands up and each person has to say an adjective, and as time goes on in your game, so if you can't think of an adjective, and again, okay, and then we move into our activity. So with your group, choose your favourite story within the story and improvise to show what is the main idea of the story. Think about the important details as a group first, and then that will help you to know the main idea. So for example, you could also, for this activity, this is like a group work activity, and again, drama is such a good way for kids, like they love expressing a story through drama too. You could give them a different chapter in the book, and the kids have to think about the details in that chapter, and then there may be no sound depending on what way you want to do this, or there may be sound where they come up with language, and give them a space, break them up into groups. Obviously give them the chapter, have them think. You could have them with a page thinking about what's the detail and what's the overall main idea we need to communicate to our audience. And then of course give them the opportunity to practice. I usually go around with things like this because some groups get this right, and like, you know, the groups that they understand what they're doing and it's very clear, and then other groups don't really get it, or maybe the chapter you give them, it doesn't really suit them. I wouldn't be adverse to having a couple of other chapters or scenes to one side so that you can give it a group if it's not working for them, and prompt them where needed. And then so once they've practiced and you've given them the time to practice, which is really important, and you can set a timer on the board and all that stuff, then you invite them to do the show, to explain what's happened, to perform for the class, and and you can invite feedback from the audience then, what they think the main idea was, what were the details, and what was the overall main idea. Okay, I hope you found this lesson plan series effective. Again, we did this in like 5 videos. You might want to spread this over, depending on your class ability, you could spread this particularly over like 2 weeks if you wanted to. You could have 5 and 5. There's 10 chapters in the book, and it's up to you. You could repeat these reading skills for 2 weeks. If you have a 2-week lesson plan block, for example, this would work out really well. You could do 2 weeks of your reading part, and then we could move into your writing part for the next 2 weeks if you have a 4-week block in teaching practice. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Please hit subscribe, the Read to Write Teacher, where we're bringing you video lesson plans to help you with your planning, because I know how painful it can be sometimes. Thank you.